Imagine this: a powerful CEO, a millionaire used to getting everything he wants, checks into a luxury hotel for a peaceful escape. But just as he begins to relax, his world turns upside down. Who does he see? His ex-wife, and a child he never knew existed. What happens next will change his life forever. Stay with me, because this true story will touch your heart, surprise you, and remind us all of what truly matters in the end. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. Like this video and share our channel with friends and family. Remember, this is not just entertainment. Every story here carries a meaningful lesson that can inspire, uplift, and guide us. So let's grow and learn together. Your journey starts right now. The CEO millionaire stepped into the grand lobby of the Coastal Hotel. The marble floors glistened under the soft glow of golden chandeliers. A faint scent of sea breeze mingled with fresh lilies from the reception desk. His polished shoes echoed softly as he made his way to the elevator. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to relax. He had worked tirelessly to build his empire, sacrificing sleep, joy, and sometimes peace of mind. Now, in this serene place, he hoped to breathe freely. The hotel staff greeted him warmly, their smiles genuine and respectful. He nodded politely, his mind already picturing the view from his suite. A room on the top floor, overlooking the endless blue of the ocean. He imagined the gentle waves, the sun dipping low, painting the sky in shades of fire and rose. The elevator chimed, and he stepped in, his heart light with anticipation. But as the doors began to close, something caught his eye. In the lounge, just beyond the glass wall, a woman stood with a small boy. His heart stopped. The woman turned slightly, her profile unmistakable. It was her. His ex-wife. The woman he had loved more deeply than anyone else in his life. The woman he had lost, not through anger or betrayal, but through the slow, painful erosion of time, distance, and work. The elevator doors opened again at the lobby. Without thinking, he stepped out. He felt the weight of the years in that single moment. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than the murmur of conversations and the soft clink of glasses. He watched as she brushed a lock of hair from the child's face. A tender, familiar gesture. The boy looked up at her with wide, trusting eyes. The CEO's gaze softened as he took in the small figure. The boy's hair was dark like his own. The curve of his cheek was achingly familiar. He felt the air grow thick around him. Was this his child? A child he had never known. A rush of emotions flooded him: joy, confusion, regret, and an overwhelming yearning to protect. The woman turned fully then, as if sensing his gaze. Their eyes met. In that instant, the years between them melted away. He saw the same kindness in her eyes. The same quiet strength that had once been his anchor. There was pain too, but also understanding. She gave him a small, hesitant smile. A smile that spoke of shared memories, of battles fought together, of love that had never truly died. The boy tugged at her hand, curious about the man who stared at them with such intensity. The CEO took a slow step forward. His voice trembled as he spoke, filled with sincerity and wonder. "Is he mine?" The woman hesitated, her eyes shining with unshed tears. She nodded gently. The boy looked between them, sensing something important, something beautiful and fragile. The CEO knelt down, so that he was at eye level with the boy. He smiled, his heart full of love he never knew he still carried. "Hello, my son." The boy blinked, then grinned, the innocence of his joy breaking the tension. The CEO felt the tears he had held back for years finally fall. He reached out, his hand shaking slightly, and the boy placed his small hand in his. It was warm, real, and filled with trust. The woman stepped closer, her own tears now free. In that moment, the past and the future met. They stood together, no longer as strangers or as broken pieces, but as a family, fragile yet whole. It was not the ending he had imagined when he checked into the hotel. It was something better. A second chance. A reminder that love, no matter how lost, can always find its way back. And that sometimes, the greatest treasures come when least expected. This is a real story. A story of love rediscovered, of pain healed, and of hearts that chose to forgive. A story that teaches us all that kindness, understanding, and the courage to reach out can change everything. The CEO rose slowly, his hand still holding the boy's. The warmth of that small hand steadied him, as if anchoring him to this new reality. He glanced at his ex-wife, searching her face for answers, for permission, for hope. Her eyes spoke softly, offering all three. The lobby around them seemed to fade away. The music, the laughter of other guests, the clatter of dishes, none of it mattered anymore. All that mattered was this moment. All that mattered was them. He took a deep breath, his voice steadying as he spoke again. "May I join you?" The woman nodded, and together they walked toward the lounge. The boy skipped between them, unaware of the weight lifted from his father's heart. They found a quiet corner by the large window where the sea stretched endlessly beyond. The setting sun bathed them in golden light, gentle and forgiving. They sat, and the CEO listened as his ex-wife shared their son's story. The first word he spoke. The first time he rode a bicycle. The nights he had cried for a father he did not know he had. Each word was a gift and a wound, filling the gaps of lost time. The CEO spoke too, his voice raw with honesty. Of the years spent chasing success, not knowing what he was missing. Of the nights alone, wondering where love had gone. Of the regret that now mingled with hope. The boy listened, wide-eyed, as if he too understood the importance of these truths. And as they talked, something unspoken passed between the man and the woman. Not blame. Not anger. But acceptance. A shared understanding that life had been hard, but kindness could mend what was broken. The CEO called for tea, and they stayed there as the evening deepened. Stars began to appear, one by one, as if the sky itself celebrated their reunion. Other guests passed by, but none disturbed them. It was as if the world respected the sacredness of this family's quiet healing. When the boy grew sleepy, the CEO offered to carry him. The child's head rested on his shoulder, small breaths warm against his neck. It felt natural. It felt right. They walked together to her room, their steps slow, as if neither wanted the moment to end. Outside her door, they paused. The CEO looked at her, his voice gentle. "I would like to be here. For him. For you. If you will let me." Her eyes softened further, filled with gratitude and the first hint of new beginnings. "We would like that very much," she said. And so, the night became a promise. A promise of love renewed. A promise of a father's care, a man's devotion, and a family's future. A promise that hard times could be healed by those who choose to care, to understand, and to stay. The CEO millionaire had come to the hotel seeking rest. What he found was purpose. What he found was home. The hallway was quiet as they stood there, the soft hum of distant conversation barely reaching their ears. The boy stirred in his father's arms, his small hand clutching the edge of the CEO's jacket. The man gently rocked him, feeling the rise and fall of the child's breath. The woman unlocked the door, holding it open for them to step inside. The room was simple, warm, filled with the soft glow of a bedside lamp. A small suitcase lay open near the dresser, a favorite toy peeking out from among neatly folded clothes. The CEO took it all in, the traces of their life, the pieces he had missed. He laid the boy down on the bed, carefully pulling a light blanket over him. The boy sighed in his sleep, peaceful and safe. The woman stood beside him, watching with quiet emotion. Their hands brushed as they adjusted the blanket, and for a moment, they both paused. Neither spoke, but their hearts did. So much had been lost. Yet here, in this room, so much could be found again. The CEO straightened and looked at her, his eyes sincere. "I want to know him," he said softly. "I want to know you again." She smiled, a smile that carried the weight of past sorrow and the light of new hope. "Then stay. Take your time. There is no rush, only today and tomorrow, and the days after that." They sat together in the quiet of the room, two people who had once built dreams together, now ready to build new ones. The boy slept on, his gentle breathing the sweetest sound in the world. Outside, the night deepened, and the stars watched over them. The sea whispered against the shore, steady and timeless. And in that small hotel room, a family began again. Not with grand declarations, but with simple presence, shared silence, and the first steps of healing. The CEO knew the path ahead would not be easy. It would take patience, humility, and endless work. But as he looked at the boy, at the woman who had once been his whole world, he felt ready. He felt grateful. This was no longer just a hotel stay. It was the beginning of something true. Something that mattered far more than success or wealth. It was love, rediscovered and waiting to be nurtured, one day at a time. The room grew quieter, filled only with the soft sound of the boy's breathing. The CEO leaned back slightly, his gaze never leaving his son's peaceful face. Every small feature felt like a gift, a reflection of both himself and the woman beside him. The woman rose and drew the curtains, letting the night wrap them in its calm embrace. She turned back, her expression gentle, touched by both relief and uncertainty. They were both learning, both beginning again, step by step. The CEO spoke, his voice steady but low, as if afraid to wake the boy. "Tell me what he likes. His favorite books, his games, his dreams. I want to know it all." She sat beside him, her hands resting in her lap. Her words painted pictures of the boy's world. How he loved to build tall towers with his blocks. How he laughed when the dog next door licked his face. How he asked, every night, for a story about brave fathers and kind mothers. The CEO listened, each detail filling the hollow space that absence had left behind. He felt a deep, humbling gratitude. For this chance. For this boy. For this woman who had raised their child with so much love. At last, the woman's voice trailed off, and they sat in quiet understanding. The boy stirred again, his small hand reaching out. The CEO took it gently, his heart full of promises he would keep. Outside, the first light of dawn touched the horizon. The sea shimmered, welcoming the new day. And in that quiet room, hope grew stronger. A father ready to give his all. A mother willing to share the journey. A child who would never have to wonder again if he was loved. They stayed there, together, as morning broke. Together, they faced what came next. And together, they began to build the future they had almost lost. As the soft light of morning spread across the room, the boy's eyelids fluttered open. His gaze, still heavy with sleep, met the eyes of the man beside him. There was no fear, only curiosity and comfort, as if his heart recognized something his mind had not yet understood. The CEO smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "Good morning, my son," he whispered, his voice full of wonder. The boy blinked, then smiled back, a smile that seemed to light up the room more than the dawn itself. The woman watched them, her heart aching and healing at the same time. She felt the weight of the past years, but also the beauty of this new chapter beginning before her eyes. The CEO reached out, brushing a strand of hair from the boy's forehead with infinite care. The boy sat up slowly, looking between his mother and this man who felt so familiar, so safe. His small voice broke the quiet. "Are you my papa?" The CEO's breath caught. He nodded, his voice trembling with truth. "Yes, I am. And I am so happy to be here with you." The boy reached out, wrapping his arms around his father's neck in a sudden, trusting hug. It was a hug that spoke of forgiveness for the lost years and hope for the days ahead. The CEO held him close, his eyes meeting the woman's over the boy's shoulder. There was nothing left to say in that moment. Everything that mattered was already understood. After a while, the boy wriggled free, his face bright with excitement. "Can we go to the beach today? Please." The CEO laughed softly, his heart lighter than it had been in years. He looked at the boy, then at his mother. "If it is all right with your mother, I would like nothing more." She nodded, her smile warm and genuine. "I think we would all like that." And so, hand in hand, they prepared for the simple joy of a day together. No grand plans. No business calls. Only the sound of the waves, the touch of soft sand, and the promise of love renewed. The CEO, once so focused on success, now found his greatest achievement in this small family. He knew the journey ahead would need patience and devotion. But he also knew, as he watched his son's eager steps and his former wife's peaceful smile, that every effort would be worth it. Together, they stepped out into the morning sun, ready to begin again. Ready to build a life woven with kindness, understanding, and the quiet, steady work of love. The morning air was fresh, carrying with it the salty scent of the sea. They walked slowly, the boy skipping ahead, his laughter blending with the cry of gulls overhead. The CEO felt the cool breeze on his face, and for the first time in so long, he felt truly free. He glanced at the woman walking beside him, her hair catching the sunlight like threads of gold. Their eyes met, and though no words were spoken, a deep peace settled between them. There was no need to rush. Every step they took together now mattered more than all the miles they had once walked apart. The boy reached the edge of the water, squealing with delight as the waves tickled his feet. He turned and waved, calling out for them to join him. Without hesitation, the CEO kicked off his shoes and rolled up his trousers. The woman laughed, a sound that filled him with warmth, and she too stepped onto the soft sand. They splashed through the shallows, their feet sinking into the cool, wet earth. The boy ran between them, his joy infectious, his hands reaching for theirs. And in that simple game of chase and laughter, they found a rhythm, a harmony that had long been missing. Time seemed to slow, each moment stretching, precious and unforgettable. The CEO lifted his son high, spinning him until their shared laughter echoed across the shore. The boy's delight rang out, pure and bright as sunlight on the waves. When they grew tired, they sat together on the sand. The boy gathered seashells, showing each one with pride. The CEO listened as the woman shared small stories of the boy's life, the kind of stories he longed to know. And as the tide rolled in, gentle and sure, he knew with certainty that this was where he belonged. Not in boardrooms or behind polished desks, but here, beside the two people who had given his life its true meaning. He reached out, taking the woman's hand in his. Her fingers curled around his, soft and steady. There was no need for promises spoken aloud. The promise was in their presence, in the quiet understanding, in the shared love for the child between them. The sea kept its steady song, and the day unfolded gently. And with every heartbeat, the CEO felt more certain. Together, they would build something stronger than before. Something shaped by kindness, by effort, by the endless work of love. And as the sun climbed higher in the sky, they stayed side by side, ready for whatever would come next. The sun climbed higher, casting warm light that danced on the gentle waves. The boy nestled between them, his tiny hands full of seashells and bits of smooth driftwood. He looked up, his eyes sparkling with simple joy, and spoke with a certainty only a child could have. "This is the best day ever." The CEO felt his throat tighten with emotion. He looked at the woman, seeing the same tenderness reflected in her gaze. She nodded softly, as if to say she felt it too. They stayed there, long after most visitors left the beach. The boy built castles in the sand, and they helped him, shaping walls and towers with care. The CEO's hands, used to signing contracts and shaking deals, now found purpose in sculpting sand, in sharing this moment. A gentle breeze carried the sound of the sea, steady and soothing. Every now and then, the woman's hand brushed his, and each touch felt like a promise renewed. No grand speeches were needed. Their actions spoke of love rediscovered and of quiet determination to nurture it. When hunger called them back toward the hotel, they walked slowly, as if reluctant to let the day end. The CEO lifted the boy onto his shoulders, the child's laughter filling the air like music. The woman watched them, her heart lighter than it had been in years. Back at the hotel, they shared a simple meal, filled with small moments that mattered deeply. A shared smile over a spilled drink. The boy's excitement as he told the waiter about his sandcastle. The CEO's silent promise, reflected in every glance at his son and the woman he had never stopped loving. As evening approached, they sat together on the balcony of her room. The boy rested against his father's chest, his eyelids growing heavy with sleep. The CEO gently stroked his hair, marveling at the softness, at the wonder of having him close. The woman sat beside them, her head resting lightly against the CEO's shoulder. Together, they watched as the sun slipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of rose and gold. The world seemed to hush, as if honoring the quiet, steady bond growing between them. And as night fell, they stayed there, hearts full of hope, ready to face each new day as one. The stars began to appear, one by one, like tiny lanterns lighting the deepening sky. The boy had fallen asleep, his small hand still resting on his father's chest. The CEO held him close, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing, the steady beat of a life that now meant everything to him. The woman turned slightly, her voice soft, filled with truth. You are good with him. You always would have been. I see it now. The CEO's eyes glistened, but his smile was steady. I will be. From this day forward, I will be here. Every day, every night. For both of you. She reached out, brushing a stray hair from the boy's forehead, her fingers lingering a moment longer. There were so many nights I wished for this. I wanted him to know your love. I wanted you to see how special he is. The CEO nodded, the weight of her words settling in his heart. I see it. I feel it. And I will never take it for granted. The night air was cool now, the soft hum of the waves below blending with the quiet of the world around them. Together, they rose and carried the boy inside, laying him gently on the bed. He stirred, but only for a moment, safe in the warmth of his parents' presence. The CEO pulled the blanket over him, then stood, looking down at the small, peaceful face. His heart ached, not with sorrow now, but with a deep, humbling love. The woman stood beside him, and for a long while, they said nothing. They simply stood in that shared space, hearts beating in time, minds turning to the days ahead. At last, she spoke, her voice filled with quiet strength. We have lost time. But there is so much we can give him. Together. The CEO took her hand, his grip firm, his voice full of conviction. Yes. Together. Always. Outside, the stars continued their silent watch. And within the room, a new chapter of their lives unfolded gently. No longer bound by what had been lost, but shaped by what they would choose to build. Side by side. Step by step. With love, with patience, with a kind of devotion that grows stronger with every shared sunrise and every quiet night. Morning light returned, soft and golden, filling the room with quiet promise. The boy woke first, stretching his small arms and smiling at the sight of his parents sitting together nearby. He rushed into their embrace, his laughter filling the room like the sweetest music. The CEO lifted him high, holding him as if he would never let go. The woman stood beside them, her heart full of peace. For the first time in many years, they all felt whole. Later that day, they walked along the beach once more, hand in hand. The CEO no longer thought about meetings or deadlines. He thought about the simple, precious moments that made life rich. Moments he would never again let slip away. Before they left the shore, the CEO knelt down beside his son, pointing to where the sea met the sky. Do you see how endless the sea is? He asked gently. The boy nodded, wide-eyed. That is how big my love is for you. And it will always be there, steady and true. The woman smiled, tears shining in her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude. Because they had found their way back. Because kindness, understanding, and sincere effort had built a bridge where hurt once stood. In the days that followed, the CEO stayed true to his promise. He chose presence over wealth. He chose time over titles. He chose family, and in doing so, discovered the greatest success of all. And so, this real story leaves us with a simple, wise lesson. No amount of riches or achievements can replace the love of family. What matters most are the moments we share, the forgiveness we offer, and the kindness we show. Because in the end, it is love, steady, patient, and true, that makes a life truly rich.